So I wanted to share a little story with all of you about how it feels to put down an entire genre of games for 15 years and then go back to it one night and see how I fare. For me, that genre is modern fighting games, specifically learning to play them online. So why did I decide to come back now, and why did I pick Killer Instinct? Well, every year I watch EVO, and this year was no different, and I did manage to catch the exhibition matches, a little showcase that they did for Killer Instinct on Xbox One, a game that came out a decade ago at this point. And they mentioned that after all these years, the game is getting a balance patch, and it's also getting Xbox Series X support for 4K visuals and all this fun, crazy stuff. I'm like, man, I didn't even realize they added all these cool enemies. The character selection in this game is just so over the top now with so many amazing monster designs. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go back. Let's play Killer Instinct. This game has just insane design in terms of its visual effects, its particle effects, its music, its combos. Everything is just... the announcer, everything is just so over the top. So I said, you know what, let's pick it up, let's do it. So I jumped into the game. I went into practice mode with Jago, which let me tell you, after having not played a fighting game for 15 years, I was in practice mode just struggling for the most basic of combos for probably like the better part of an hour, almost an hour and a half, trying to learn everything. And it's one of the reasons I stopped playing fighting games, is because they became too complex for me. When Street Fighter 4 came out, I was not too long before that. I was playing BlazBlue somewhat competitively online using Arakune, my favorite character, and I wanted to try Street Fighter 4. And when I picked that up, fighting games I just felt were getting a little too complicated for me. I didn't want to have to dedicate so much time to memorizing moves and characters just to be able to stand a chance online. So that's the main reason that I put it down. And after all these years, nothing has really changed. Modern fighting games to me are still very complex. There's so many different nuances to countering the counters and setting up combos and openers and finishers. But I said, you know what? We're going to dedicate to this. We're going to take the time and try and learn this. So after my really long session in practice mode, I was ready to try the single player. And I was live streaming this, which is why you also see me on the screen here. I was streaming this on my Twitch channel. People recommended that I try the Shadow Lords mode, which apparently was an RPG, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? This game has an RPG mode? So I jumped in, I played around. I found out that the game pretty much almost looked like a mobile game with the interface and like the packs that you can buy with random items and power-ups, and I was actually kind of stunned. I didn't expect Killer Instinct to have a mode like this. It seemed really cool. But at the end of the day, I wanted to jump in, I wanted to practice everything I had learned in practice mode and not drop everything I retained, because there's a lot of cutscenes, there's a lot of fluff in between in Shadow Lords mode. But I did just want to mention, for those of you that maybe put this game down for a long time, check it out. There's an entire RPG mode now where you level up and get items and moves, and it's just really neat how they did it. I can't really explain it the best because I did drop it after a short while. But then it was time to pick who my main character was going to be. And for me, I just had to go with Gargos, because watching him played on the EVO main stage, I loved his design. I love the fact that he summons minions. He just looks so awesome. And I said, all right, this is it. This is the first character that I'm going to learn. I'm going to dedicate all my time in this stream to learning this character. So I began in practice mode. It was a pretty long, arduous process of going through the move lists, trying to remember everything I learned about openers, combos, and finishers. And I was actually kind of getting in the Gargos. I liked his keep back playstyle where you're not always up in the face of your opponents. But for someone like me, where I struggle to get into these complex fighting games because of how overwhelming playing one character can feel, the introduction of summoning minions and then using those minions as a tool to kind of manipulate your opponent was just a little too much for me to handle at the start. As much as I was dedicated to learning Gargos, ultimately I decided it was time to move on to another character, something that maybe would be a bit easier for me to pick up, and that's when I tried Aganos next. Aganos was much bigger, much slower, much more methodical. In other words, all of his moves came out really slowly, so it was really easy for me to pay attention and learn what I was doing, essentially. I can keep track of every punch, every combo, every special move that I did, because he was pretty hulking big and slow. So I figured, okay, let's just try him out. I didn't know any of his mechanics, I just did some button mashing, and I really liked the feel of Aganos. And keep this in mind, because we might come back and revisit him a little bit later. But until then, I wanted to play around with a few more characters, and the next one I decided on was giving a try to Riptor. Riptor is like the polar opposite of Aganos, and I have to say he felt a little button mashy for me because his moves were so fast. And I did take the time to look through the move list for Riptor, and I did like how everything was quite simple. He's sort of a charge character, not a lot of complex moves or button inputs. So I figured, let's give a try to this guy. Let's actually put in the time to try and learn him. But at the end of the day, I was still feeling something for that Aganos, but I wasn't done quite yet. I wanted to get in a little bit of practice with one more character before I decided who I would ultimately bring into the online multiplayer mode to see if I can actually put up a fight against veterans of this game. And the next character, and the last one that I would choose to try before heading online, was Omen. Now at the time, I had a veteran Killer Instinct player in my chat. Shoutouts to PlasmaZen453, who was coaching me a bit because Omen is one of his main characters, and he was trying to teach me how to set up this essentially one-hit KO move where you do this setup into this grab that would pretty much put all of your enemy's health into potential damage, meaning that if you strike them one more time and finish a combo, it just one-hit KOs the opponent. And I took the time to learn it. It took a little bit, but I got the combo down, and I was pulling it off in due time against the AI in practice mode. But the thing is, could I pull this off online? Well, I figured now is the time to head online and put the little skills that I learned to the test. And of course, the first opponent that I matched up against was a level 36 player with a level 12 Glacius. Oh boy. I knew this was going to be trouble, but I did manage to put up a fight in the first round and at least get his health bar down to the second health bar. And while I didn't win, it gave me a bit of confidence to know that I can go up against somebody that obviously has been playing the game way longer than me and at least get in a health bar's worth of damage. The way that it works in Killer Instinct is you have 2 health bars, so it's not like 2 separate rounds. You get their life bar down, they get up, they get another life bar, and that's how you proceed. So after my first match, giving me a little bit of confidence boost in that I could put up a fight, I matched up against a level 5 player, and they were using Cinder. So obviously, we were a little bit closer match. This person's put in a bit of time, but not too much. But I chose Riptor this time. I figured, let's try out my arsenal of characters that I briefly took a glimpse at in practice mode. And in this match, I started off with a really strong opening combo, at least I felt like it. And the whole match, because my kryptonite in fighting games is starting on the right side, like a complete newbie, I was staring at the left side meters while my meters were on the right side, so I was trying to figure out why I couldn't get my special moves off, and it's because I was staring at the wrong bars. Ugh, man. But I kept the pressure on, and I did end up winning my first online match. But the question is, would this be my final match that I'd be able to win online? Well, we kept playing, and this time I made a lobby to play against viewers. So the first person that I went up against in my lobby was Graeme, also known as Insomniac Doze from my streams. And he chose Idol, a character that I had never played against before, and I do absolutely love his design. Such a cool creature design. I just absolutely love all the monsters and creatures and characters in Killer Instinct. And I have to say, it was a neck and neck battle all the way up until the end. It gave me even more hope that, hey, maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe I'm not as bad at modern fighting games as I thought. But then, of course, PlasmaZen, my teacher for the night on giving me hints and tricks on Killer Instinct, I matched up against him, and while I did actually manage to get his first health bar down and halfway in his second health bar against one of his main characters, Shadow Jago, he quickly showed me that, hey, I'm going to put you in your place and show you how Killer Instinct is done. And he quickly finished me off. I'm not sure if he was toying with me or maybe he was not able to really predict the unpredictable moves that I was using with Riptor, because the thing about this kind of stuff is when you're a pro player going up against a new player and that new player is doing unconventional attacks because, they don't really know the combos, it's a little hard to predict, and that's probably what was going on for Zen. But in the end, he definitely showed me and put me in my place that I still got a lot of work to do. Before I was getting ready to move off of Riptor and Omen, I just knew that I had to at least get that grab move off one time before I switched over to Aganos. So after a lot of attempts and misses, I finally was able to grab Graeme's Idol and get the attack off, even though it wasn't in the final life bar, which is ideally where you want to get it because then it kills and wins the match. I at least felt pretty good about being able to get it off once in an online match, even though it maybe wasn't the best use of the attack. And in the end, I still managed to lose that match anyway. Graeme's Idol is quite strong. He does a pretty good job of using it, so it's a bit of a tough matchup. So then, towards the end of the night, it was time to try Aganos one more time, because I had kind of started falling in love with this character earlier in my practice mode matches, and I brought him online, and I just started doing quite decently with this character. I really love how he can erect walls behind him to kind of combo enemies into, and it actually seemed like I took the people I was playing against a little off guard. They didn't know how to deal with it. And he has this really cool, like, Jigglypuff rollout style attack that I just absolutely loved. And I started putting up some decent fights. I lost some matches, I won some matches, and by the way, I absolutely love his victory animation. It's just so funny how he puts a flower on the dead body of your opponent. But even after some back and forth, really close matches with everybody that jumped in, shoutouts to Donovan as well, who did pop into the online mode, though I didn't get to have too many matches against Donovan. Zen, of course, gave me the mirror matchup, Aganos versus his Aganos, and he quickly, once again, put me in my place, showing me not to get too confident. Not that I was getting, too cocky or anything, but he's just a great example of showing you top-tier Killer Instinct gameplay, at least from a new player's perspective, and what is possible with these combos and things that can be done. So the night pretty much concluded with me testing out a few different characters, and in the end, I think I'm going to settle on Aganos. Let me know in the comments below, for those of you that played Killer Instinct, what characters did you main? Which ones do you recommend for new players? But right now, I think if I go back, and if I choose to go back, I think I'm going to keep practicing with Aganos. But let me know in the comments below, what did you guys think? And also, what did you think of this style of video? It's my first time attempting this sort of like walking you through a night of playing a game. What do you think of this? Leave me a like, leave me a comment. It lets me know that you guys like this style of video, and I'll do it for more games, because a lot of times on Twitch I'll sit down, play a game for a night, and I can easily do more of these sort of narrated, almost story-esque little encapsulations of my experience with a game. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys, and if you decide to pick up Killer Instinct and give it a try, you might want to wait until they do the Series X update. I just couldn't contain my excitement. I had to jump in on this game before that update hit, because, well, I figured I'd get a leg up too, just in case, before all the other people start jumping in on the game when that update happens, which as of right now doesn't have a date, but it's coming, it's going to happen. And I just wanted to share my excitement for my potential possibility of getting back into fighting games with Killer Instinct.